Boom, we're live. We are live. I think.
Yeah, look, yeah, it is.
Yeah, we are. Double checked on another screen.
Oh yeah. So can people log on now or what?
Yep. They just tune in. They hit the link, and then they will see us on YouTube while we are on our platform. Mayhem Athletes 440 crew. Anyone else that stumbles on the Mayhem Athlete YouTube channel right now and sees we're live, whole crew. So if you do tune in, anytime you can ask questions in the comments and we'll address them, get to them. So we are doing the 440 challenge. We're over halfway through now. I should have looked exactly what day we are on. Actually, we're on.
Yeah, this is week 4.
Nope, it's week 3. We're not quite halfway through yet. We are on day, I believe, 18 it is. So in like a couple more days, we would be halfway to 20.
Yeah.
Had EC come on for nutrition, Luke come on for faith, Roe last week with family, covering all the faith, family, fitness service. This week is fitness with none other than Angelo DiCicco.
What up?
In our office right now. I'm not there because of the audio. So yeah, today we're going to talk about fitness, which is super broad. Angelo's going to dive in. I'll probably chime in more this week than normal just because the topic can go a lot of directions. But
yeah,
Andrew, you can team up too. We're going to talk about at the highest level of the competitor, tip of the spear from CrossFit Games champs. Work our way down semis, quarters open for the CrossFit crew, largely our audience. Also work our way into like, what if I'm a local comp? I'm just getting started and no regular gym goer. And what if I got to be like work on my living room, that type stuff.
Yeah.
Where we talk about. So.
Well, I mean, honestly, we can just start like the fact that it all starts at the same place. Like, I mean, I could be making a corny, like open, ad. I'm not, but it does. But everyone does start with the open. So let's just say you just started CrossFit. You don't really know. You maybe want to get competitive. You don't know what that looks like yet. I think a good place to start is kind of jumping into a competition or jumping into, if your gym has something like this, a test and retest. I mean, assessing your strengths, weaknesses. So I'm just going to use the open as a perfect example. If I just started CrossFit, I'm going to go ahead and try to sign up for the open whenever it is. If I start in October, the open, I got a few months to get prepared for it. If I start in January, which a lot of time, people are starting in January, I'm still going to try to sign up for the open. Maybe I can do them RX, maybe I can't. That's going to be my first assessment of like, hey, where's my fitness at? Like, what do I need to work on? Like, maybe you've never even seen someone do a butterfly pull up. Like, I mean, I have been there. Like when the open workouts come out and I'm like, oh man, like I can do a kipping pull up or a strict pull up, but I never even seen like a butterfly pull up. And so you start to assess these things of like, oh, okay, I can learn that. I can get better at this. And so like, it's like a building block, assess your fitness, where your level's at. The open's perfect because usually it allows a broad spectrum of people participate. I mean, anyone can participate, but you're more likely to be able to do those workouts either scaled or RX than you would be if you jumped into, let's just say like, an in-person competition. You don't really know what's going to be there. So the open's a great place to start. You can compare yourself against other people to see what people are good at. You can even just compare yourself to how you feel during the workout. So like if I'm doing the workout and there's wall walks in it and my score may be okay, but I know that the wall walks were the reason why my score wasn't as good as it could be. Then I can start to like assess that is, hey, that's something that I'm lacking. I need to get better at wall walks, and that whole workout does better. So I think it's just really, I think it's as simple as that. You start with an assessment, and the open is a really good assessment for most people because you're going to hit a good amount of capacity for sure. And you're going to hit some of the very basic CrossFit movements, the snatch, the clean, the toes to bar, the pull up, the burpee, rowing, like really basic stuff that you want to be getting better at if you want to become a better CrossFit athlete.
What would you say then, Ange, to someone who's done maybe 0 opens, 0 CrossFit, or very little, or maybe they've done like 1 open, tried CrossFit once? What's the benefits, maybe the same, of doing the open and or like, let's say, Fran, you tried it once and you tried again if you trained in like a few months, you're just new, what's some of the benefits you'll get with both, and then what's some of the benefits are like the open gives you that retesting Fran doesn't, and then vice versa.
I mean, obviously the number one is that the benefits of the open for sure, that come to mind honestly, outside of just fitness is the community aspect. Like, you are working out with a lot of people. You most likely you have a rival that you're doing the open against in your gym. Almost everybody has that guy they want to beat in the class workout. And then everyone has that guy they want to beat in the open. And then you can get that with like, hey, I'm going to go do Fran or Diane or Jackie. I'm going to go do one of those workouts, and I'm going to retest against myself and kind of against the scores that I see online. But nothing beats being able to do the Friday Night Lights. Almost every gym does a Friday Night Lights where they do the open workout. They have all the heats going, and you are able to go against your friends or frenemies and compete with them. So, and that is in essence, that's what CrossFit is the community building aspect. So not only are we trying to get fitter, but you're also getting buy-in from that community. I've been there, and so have you, about like, either I'm being judged by somebody that I don't know, or I do know, maybe not well, or vice versa. I am judging somebody that I don't know or don't know well. And you kind of grow a relationship there because you're trying to help that person. Maybe like, I mean, we can talk about you and me way back in the day in 2013. Jake gave me the most no reps I've ever had in my life. I was not strong enough to get the 20-pound ball to the 10-foot target. I had no idea. And you get to meet people in your CrossFit community more readily because you all are kind of confined to that Friday Night Lights moment where you wouldn't otherwise maybe see that 5 a.m. or, so that's, I would say probably the benefits of the open are more the community aspect even than just your fitness assessment. I think there's a lot more benefits that help with your longevity of fitness. If I make friends and people that I have similar interests with, I continue to go to class, or I continue to want to train. And I'm now at the gym more frequently because I want to be. I've made more friends there, and your fitness is going to get better just because now you're wanting to go to the gym. So you're wanting to get better. And, like I said, you want to beat those people in the open too.
Competition can be so healthy.
Yeah.
There's really nowhere else. That's a lot of the magic. That's the magic across the community and also the competition.
Yeah.
I'll try to think of a third really good C. I'm sure there's one to like give you the 3 C's of why CrossFit.
Definitely those two for sure, though. Competition and community, because there's the competition within the community and and them separate from each other.
Yeah. Because there's nowhere really else in life, unless you go do like a 5K race, that you can experience, like, you will absolutely go as hard as possible.
Yeah.
Like, feel the hype of like people who are cheering you on doing something physically active, like a sport. Like, no one's going to watch like men's league basketball on a Friday night.
Yeah, no, and yeah, like you say, like a 5K is a good example. Like a local 5K and like your Friday Night Lights CrossFit Open, very similar feel. But the only thing is that in the open you're confined, to the four walls of the gym. There's never really like a corner where you're going through the woods. People don't see you. Like, you are under, you're in that setting. It literally feels like you are like in a stadium.
For sure. That's what got me. I was already hooked I started 2012 when it was at Richard's reference, the Tennessee Tech's Athletic Performance Center. So we'd throw down every night at like 5 or 6. It was honestly the most fun I ever had because it was like 30, 40 of us, mostly college dudes, going balls to the wall every time. And so that was awesome. The open was soon after that, I guess, winter and the spring. And everyone's classic story. Like, I was like, pulling off the ground to some type of press for snatch. Figuring it out. So then the next year, that's when Ange started, and it was 13.3 of Karen, 150 wall balls, and a 90 double unders and a 30 ring muscle ups with was it 12-minute AMRAP?
I can't remember. 15 minutes? I think it's 15 minutes.
That sounds right. But no, yeah, Ange could not literally get the ball to 10 feet. I think I gave a lot of bro reps, but probably
I almost finished all the wall balls, but I think I probably did over 200 of them to get to that like 130 or 140, whatever I did get.
And
I was so sore.
I remember. I have a great picture of it. I'll start gym manager in the background, like watching like a hawk to make sure everything's held to standard.
Oh yeah.
So that's why you should do the open. Yeah, the open.
Yeah.
Competition. You touched on the benefit you get in the test retest is the open's awesome, fires you up, like motivate you to train.
Yep.
You may never ever do that workout again. Whereas
Yep.
if like you hit Fran, especially the first week of CrossFit and take like 10 minutes, and then 3 months, you could literally shave 5 minutes off.
So easily. Yeah. 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 I mean, the test retest part of it is, I mean, that's what CrossFit's centered around, is that being able to test and then retest your fitness to see where you're at. And I think a lot of people do get hung up. I'll say this for myself. I mean, having done it a long time, and you're probably the same way. I don't want to test and retest because I know that however, I know how hard I had to push to get the score that I have right now. And I know how much more I'll have to push and how much I'll have to train to beat that. So I don't want to retest. However, it is good to look at it from a more broad spectrum where you're like, okay, I may not be as fit as I once was, or maybe I'm just not as good at those movements. Or here's a good example is I may need to do that workout because I know I'm not as good, and I need to see where those movements are in relation to my fitness now. So I'll paint a picture. So let's say I do Fran. When I start CrossFit, it takes 10 minutes. 3 years into CrossFit, I do it again. It takes 4 minutes. And then from there, I'm like, okay, that's a good Fran time. Now I'm going to focus a lot on my strength. I spend a lot of time focusing on my strength. And then 1 year later, I test Fran. Now it's 5 minutes. Okay, but I have my overall fitness. Take a look at your overall fitness. You have gotten stronger. Maybe you've gotten you've gotten fitter. However, you just have neglected those movements, and that allows you to focus on those movements again. Say, okay, I need to work that back in. I need to think about those things because obviously I'm missing the piece of the puzzle that got me good at Fran or better at Fran, and I need to get those things back. And then now you're always playing that game of getting something better, something drops off maybe, and that is the point of the retest to know where those mountains and valleys are. Yeah, I am getting stronger, but maybe my mile run got worse, and then now I want to bring both those up. So now maybe my Fran time got a little worse, and I need to focus on that. And eventually you do a little bit of this leveling up of all of them, and they all come up, but you can only really focus on a couple things at once. I'm obviously not going to be getting way stronger and way faster other than, maybe a beginner. I can't get stronger and faster at the same time. I probably need to get stronger, get faster. And then now you're playing with all these levels up here, and you're talking about, minor improvements all the time. When you look at it after several years of training, it feels like, want to go up here and then you do this. But then really after you've trained for several years, you're really talking about these levels. You're noticing those small things that are different, and you can't notice those small changes in your fitness unless you are doing that test retest and you have things you come back to. And it's this, I mean, we do this on Mayhem Athlete. We redo workouts after a year, or maybe we redo them after a cycle, a focus on them, or we redo them after, a couple years. We do repeats every couple of years of workouts we like, or of workouts we think are really good tests of fitness. And I do the same thing on Hunt. That is what you do with CrossFit. You need to test and retest, not just to see, hey, am I overall way better? Try to get that out of your mind and just focus on the tasks that you are trying to get better at. You can only get better at so many things at once. You have to be okay with maybe taking some dips every now and then, and know that it all generally will end up at a higher level at the end.
Yep. People actually, I did too. We just trained everything with just let's do it all more back in the day.
Yeah.
But now with we're training the progressions, row burpee on Tuesdays, some run in the afternoon if you're doing that. The lifts are mostly maintenance on their deadlift, and then a lot of just gymnastic and pure open prep. But people get naturally stressed, especially more off season. You're trying to get strong. You're not doing as much CrossFit. The dip does happen sometimes, but it's just like you regain so quickly what you quote.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you'll find some people even don't lose anything. They're just not gaining while they're gaining their aspect. So learn to not always juggle all the balls at one time, but really focus on one, and then you put the piece together. We kind of started, which is fine, at the bottom worked up rather than top down. So if you're new to CrossFit, hadn't started, someone shout out here, new to CrossFit, Chris says, haven't ever done any gymnastics or Olympic lifts before.
Yeah.
Well, the two best options, one, the local affiliate is unmatched. If you have coach eyes on you, teaching those movements in local class, that works.
Yep.
Also, Mayhem Athlete, we do have one-off progressions with 3 gymnastic movements. We're actually going to build out to 8 here soon. All the pull up, hits and push up, ring muscle up, total bar, everything will be there here in the next really month or so. So you can learn via video as well, and that's a good option too. Same with Olympic lifts; those are on there, and you doing them make you better. But so if you're new, go to the gym, go do some type of competition, get some kind of baseline, have fun with the community. Let's say that's to just start a newbie. Next, if you're like, okay, I really want to maybe go harder at the open or start competing locally. Maybe from there go to quarterfinals. We'll see what should they do, assuming they're working out at least, let's say right now, 3 times a week, maybe 5.
Yeah. I mean, it just gets a little bit more nitpicky, about the skills and the strengths you need to get better at. So, again, you have to test and retest, and it doesn't have to be exactly this. It doesn't have to be, I don't have to do a 1 rep max squat clean, and then 10 weeks later, after I do a strength program for that squat clean, test it one more time. There's plenty of ways to test it. We have one coming up that we wrote for our mock quarterfinals that we programmed, where it's going to be a running, or it's rowing and snatches, and the snatch ladder goes up in weight. So there's a little tidbit of what's to come for anyone watching, wondering what workout's coming up. So you have something like that, and then you go and do that workout again, and maybe you move the bar a little bit fast, a little bit easier. So you're not always having to maybe max out. Think about it in a more not just an absolute, like, okay, I'm going to check this box of the 1 rep max clean. Well, I mean, that's one part of it, but also what you want to get better at is you want to be able to move those heavier weights under fatigue if you're wanting to get better at CrossFit. So, but you're going to have to get nitpicky on like testing those things, I know we do a great job of like this in the cycles. If you're following the strength cycle, you're going to probably see dips and gains, just like we said, and it may not dip as much as you think, but you are going to see a little bit of a change if we shift the focus to squatting, and then we shift the focus to Olympic lifts. But you want to follow that to a T and test and get that test and retest, whatever it is, at the beginning and at the end. So you can see, okay, I did get better at the Olympic lifts, and then, okay, I did get better at squatting, and doing the same thing with the workouts. We have themes, sometimes progressions, but also just like general themes. Like he said, we're trying to get better at the burpees and rowing. That shows up in the open. So we're focusing on those movements. And even if you say, hey, I didn't necessarily, if there's a workout that shows up in the open, let's just say it's not rowing and burpees. There's a burpee workout in thruster and a rowing workout in double unders. You will see improvements because you saw improvements with those single movements that were in the workout. How if we neglected the double under or the thruster, you're still going to get better at that workout because you had been doing a lot of rowing and burpees. And then just because they're not combined the exact way the open did doesn't mean you're not going to get better. So really, it's just refining those tests and retests. I just think that would be the thing for someone to grow as a competitor into the quarterfinals level or even to a semifinals level. You just have to get a little bit more nitpicky, a little bit more dialed in, focused on where those strengths and weaknesses are. And you have to attack them. You have to continue to have fun and continue to do CrossFit. So you can't train your weaknesses every single day. I've done that. It doesn't work. 3 days a week, 3 days a week is the most you want to do something. If you're horrible at it, try to do it. The goal that I made for myself, I made a checklist. I try to do it each movement I'm bad at once a week. You're making sure you are visiting it and you are getting better. Twice a week is fine, but focusing on getting those things better and having a test retest that you trust, that you can continue to get better at, and put the focus on, okay, did I get better? And if not, why? Go back and ask yourself those questions. And you have to be honest with yourself. Did I follow the training progression all the way through? Was my nutrition dialed in? Was my sleep dialed in? Those things start to matter more as I climb that competitive ladder. I guess the more we talk about, the next level we go up to, that stuff, starts to get even more important.
What would you tell someone let's assume they have like full-time job working 40 hours a week or similar, but they're training, like we said, the example, at least 3 days a week, maybe 5 for about an hour or so. What would you tell them? Here's the next things in ranking of somewhat priority I would try to do if you're able, as far as like number of sessions per week, volume in the session, intensity, training with partners, sleep, nutrition.
Okay.
How would you go about laying out to that person, like, here's the things you can start to do, assuming like they're not going to train 4 hours a day.
Yeah.
But maybe you add in a session here or there. They're doing more intensity. They're having a partner now. They train with how they dial their nutrition, sleep. Just touch on some of those of like what's the most important, and then how do you make those happen within life?
Yeah, I mean, I think sleep's a number one. Sleep's a number one. If you can sleep 7 to 8 hours a night, that's gonna, there's nothing. Even though I know life isn't perfect, sleeping 7 to 8 hours a night fixes a lot and helps you train a whole lot better. Nutrition doesn't matter what it is. Following a nutrition plan that works for you and keeping tabs on what you're eating, if it's helping your training, if it's hurting your training, your body weight in relation to that. I like to know what my body weight is because I feel better. I actually literally feel better when I'm training at a certain body weight within a few pounds. So if I can stay within those few pounds, I know I'm going to feel better training. So you have to dial in those things the best you can. And I'm not saying you have to eat, the perfect diet, whatever that is for you that helps you maintain that weight that you feel the best at, and keeping tabs on how those foods are making you feel. So if I have, I'm pretty lactose intolerant. If I have a bunch of dairy, my training session's not going to feel that good. I'm going to be pretty inflamed. My stomach's not going to feel good. So I'm keeping tabs on that and say, yeah, and you follow those trends. You go, okay, well, maybe you don't know that. I had a bowl of cereal for lunch and then my afternoon session sucked. And that happens 2 or 3 days in a row. Now I notice that. I go, okay, maybe that's it. I change it and maybe I have some better results. But I think it has to start with sleep and nutrition before you start adding. If you're already training 3 to 5 days a week and you're, 60 to 90 minutes, those sessions, you are probably going to move the needle more by sleeping and eating appropriately for your body. You agree? I
do. That's a great way to frame it. I didn't even know what the right answer was when you started, but now I do or agree. Yeah, it'd be assuming baseline training of, we'll say, I'm going to put an exact hour on it. May not be totally 5 to 7 hours a week. You're training that baseline amount. So that'd be like an hour session 5 days a week. Maybe
hour session 5 days a week. I feel like is
there. Even maybe before even there. Yeah. In the pyramid of CrossFit, right? Nutrition is actually the base of it. As if you go look at the pyramid of fitness, play sports regularly, all the way down to the base of nutrition is below that. And my own Jake Lockhart's pyramid, I put sleep below that too. So that's always tell people. So prioritize sleep. I know it's the toughest because a lot of us have to wake up early. Maybe you're working out 5 a.m. It's tough. You're going to have to go to bed by 9 at the latest to get anywhere decent, close to 7 hours of sleep. More ideally 8. For how many hours you're in bed, you should actually subtract 1 for how much sleep you're getting. So if you're in bed, you got to be in bed really 9 hours, get 8 hours of sleep. If you buy a Whoop or something similar, it'll actually reveal that to you. The quality matters. So keep the room dark, keep it cool. No electronics, blah, blah, blah. You can dive into that a bunch. Nutrition, like you said, it's quality and quantity. You can't get around it. You got to have both.
Yep.
You can approach it either way. I personally, like me, and I'll even talk out both sides of my mouth, but I do well with macros. When I do macros, I naturally pull in the quantity because I like eating lots of food. If I eat cereal, it's going to eat up on my carbs. So then I'll naturally have fruits and veggies. Yep. But you can also go 800 gram challenge and then go quality wise first. Both work. See what works for you. You got to do both. And training timing does matter, but like if you're consistent with time you train every day, your body's probably going to adapt to that, and then like that'll get good quality training out of that. So
I'd say the timing. I seriously believe if you sleep 5 hours a night consistently, the same 5 hours a night, that's a very little amount of sleep. On average, if you continue to do that. But if you're consistently sleeping from 12 to 5 a.m., or I guess, like we said, 11 to 5 a.m., if you're consistently in bed at those hours and you consistently train from 5 to 7 a.m. or 6:30 a.m., and that is your routine and you're used to it, it becomes a lot easier than if you are sporadic with your sleep and sporadic with your workouts. I've noticed that I have started working out at 6 a.m., right at 6 a.m. And the longer I do it, the easier it is to do it. It's not that hard to get up at 6 a.m. and work out and push myself really hard. When I was a firefighter, actually, I really had a struggle doing that because it wasn't as consistent. Now it's not that hard because it is consistent. So I think those consistent times matter more than just the quantity. And you touched on it. The quality of that sleep matters too. A cool dark room really helps a lot. So looking into like sleep hygiene stuff, if you know that, hey, I only get 5 hours of sleep, that's all I can manage. I got kids, I got work, I need to get my workout in. How can you make that sleep higher quality? Since it is so short, that I think that actually does play a bigger factor than most people. Then everyone says, hey, I'll just sleep 8 hours. Well, if you're in bed for 8 hours, you got lights on, the kids are running in, the TV's on, it's not the same. Dogs are running. It's not the same thing as 5 hours of real quality sleep, I don't think.
Yeah, it's not. The quality does matter. I probably go quality one, assuming you're actually asleep and getting into your deep sleep, REM cycles, all that. Assuming you have that, you got to put that one. Then quantity would be second from what I've read, seen. Then consistent wake sleep time, which will play into the first two.
Yeah.
So having said that, I would say if I had to pick you going to bed, only getting your 5 hours and being consistent, I would rank that below. Hey, if tomorrow night you can get 8 hours and 9, but you're going to wake up later, I would say do it, because there's more benefit in sleeping longer than just forcing yourself to wake up just to do it. So I say playing the catch up sleep on weekends. Do it. I think it outweighs always just waking up at the same time every single day. But yeah, most people are going to wake up, go to sleep same, can do that and should do that, and just back in when you got to get up. Subtract as many hours as possible, go to bed then.
What I usually do, and this may be for someone or not, but I do exactly what you say. You know, I have a sleep and wake time throughout the week, and on the weekend I try to still stay to the same sleep time if I can. And the wake time I don't set an alarm. Naturally, everyone probably is like this. You can only really sleep an hour past your usual alarm. So I sleep 1 extra hour. So it's really not a huge dip in what my sleep and wake time is. But
that's a great example though, because you still go to bed. You don't just go to bed late and be dumb. You go to bed.
I'm still trying to. I'm still trying to get in bed that same time.
Yeah, and really, in a perfect world, your body will just wake up when it's ready to.
Yeah, that's usually what happens.
You'll just wake up and you're like, oh, this is when I want to wake up. Yeah, if you're going to bed early enough, it'll be between probably 5 and 7. But yeah.
Yep.
You
want to go to the semifinals, maybe?
Yeah, just work your way up. We don't have to get crazy in the weeds, because that's what we should talk about most, because most people listening.
Yeah.
Finals is last year was 1% right. This year, I think it's still that, but even less at the local semifinals. Masters is a little bit more. That in games, just maybe, talk about, all right, you got the quarters, your top 25%. If we're having this conversation, you're either going to have a longer time horizon going from 25% to 1%, or you're like already 10% and you weren't even trying like that long. What do they need to do then, assuming they've dialed in sleep reasonably, nutrition, eating well, they're training that 5 to 7 hours a week with a good, like Mayhem athlete or another good program or one-on-one coach? What then do they need to do to really make a shot at semis and beyond?
I think once you get to a semifinal level athlete, I think it starts to change a little bit per athlete. So it starts to get a little more difficult than to just like have a broad idea. So sleep could be it for somebody. Nutrition could that be that thing for someone else? And then consistent training could be that for someone else, or having enough time to train could be for another person. So I'll kind of touch on all of them. So like, let's say you have sleep, nutrition, training, the stuff you're doing is dialed in. Can we add some stuff to that? Can we add some training to that? Can we add some skill work to that? Can we add some extra accessory strength work in the off season to that? And that's another thing where we need to assess and reassess our training. So if I need to get better at my ring muscle ups versus my snatch weight, then I'll probably spend that time getting better at my ring muscle ups if I can on the days that I have that extra time. Or I'm going to spend that time if I need to do it on weightlifting. I'll spend extra time on weightlifting if I have that available, or working on, general accessory and health, because I feel like that does move the needle more than people think by getting you able to train every single day healthy and not injured. So 20 minutes of accessory before or after your training goes a long way, where you're doing some health for the lower back, the knees, the shoulders. That stuff does go a long way to continue to let you train at high intensity almost every day or most days. Because if you're just doing heavy compound lifts all the time and you're just doing high volume gymnastics all the time, you're going to start to feel those aches and pains. And it does help to get in, even if it's as simple as, bicep curls and tricep extensions, where I'm isolating those muscles, which is going to help with my joint and tendon health And then we have it in we have it in Mayhem Athlete pretty much every day. And it's not just filler. It's very important if you have time for that. Of course, it probably is going to be the first thing to go if you don't have time, but it should be one of those first things you're adding in. If I have my skills somewhat dialed in, I have my lifting somewhat dialed in, I'm going to focus on that accessory work and try to make sure I can maintain being healthy most of the year and training consistently. Because if you're injured and you're not being able to train the whole parts of the year, you're not going to be able to make those jumps that the other competitors are able to make.
Yeah. It's true. That filling your holes is the biggest thing, and the best way to do that is what you outlined: training more, and then training more, along with training more dialed in with filling in what your weaknesses are, which are doing the thing you suck at. Whether it's, let's say it's ring muscle ups, but you can only do so many of those.
Yeah.
Start to work on the technique of it, clean that up, and then the things like you're saying, accessory of, well, maybe your pulling is very weak. Well, you need to do. Your body will get better at the thing you do to a certain extent, and then it's going to hit a ceiling of where you got to improve whatever that weakness is and do. That's why we do the accessory, like single arm pulling, single arm, single leg, single side, accessory style, to do similar movement patterns that support that, but aren't always the same, because your body's going to adapt. So it's the fun of obviously that is the fun of programming, variance it to get better at one thing to help with another.
The thing I hear, other people in other sports say, and it's true for CrossFit, the best thing to get better at your sport is to do your sport. Like you can do accessory work and you can do, all the other stuff. But you're going to get better at doing your sport by doing your sport. So showing up to a competition and competing, you're going to get better at your sport because you're learning, you're learning the rules of that sport. You're learning what it's like to compete. You're learning what it's like in between events. You're learning how to warm up for them. So you need to compete. But then, of course, you can only do that for so long. So you still need to be adding in this accessory work where you can get stronger. There's going to be a point of diminishing return, I guess. You can't compete every week and expect you're going to get better. There is a point where we need to compete to do our sport. We also need to do that accessory work for those times in between when we're going to compete to keep ourselves healthy and able to compete. I think that's honestly the answer for semifinals and games. And I guess the one last thing I would say is monitoring your volume. So people are different. I've never seen anyone be able to train at high volume, high intensity more than Rich. I mean, there's no one else that can maintain that intensity, that volume than him. I've never seen it. But there are people who can get good or close to that level by not having to do that volume. And you have to be honest with yourself. Like, do I need to do all of this, or am I just doing it just to say I did it? If you're not actually getting better, that's where you need to keep track of what you're doing. If you're not actually getting better by doing all that, then don't add that extra session. If you're already training 3 or 4 hours a day, is another hour really going to move the needle, or is sleep going to move the needle, and nutrition going to move the needle, hydration? If you have all those things dialed in, that's every level that we step up, open, quarterfinals, semifinals, games, you're starting to look for more. Honestly, it's 0.1%. You're not even looking for the 1% anymore. You're looking for the 0.1%. And you have to have the other things dialed in. If I'm not really pay attention to my sleep very well or my nutrition, and I add another session a day, that's probably not moving the needle as much as the other two could. That's all the way to the top. I think that's the answer all the way to the top.
Yeah. Got to figure out the ways to move the needle. Crap, what was I going to say? Yeah, I think with that moving all the way to the top. Oh, be honest with yourself. I used to do this too. I'd Metcon 5 times a day as before, almost any training program exists, much less name athletes. So there wasn't something to follow. 2013, I'd follow around Rich. Then eventually, while he was games training, Metcon was freaking fun. Let's just do it for time or AMRAP and go. There's so much improvement left on the table because I did that too much. And then you will burn out. That's why there's seasons. There's spring, summer, fall, winter for a reason, because our bodies, our minds, everything in training should have an in-season, off-season. Like football doesn't just play football games year-round. It's a very tight window, actually, in reality, or somewhat tight, right? It's like a third-ish of the year. Same almost every other sport. So off-seasons when you have to have that to improve for the next season. So keep that amount of CrossFit. That's the biggest time. You can still do the sport at some level, but the other sports, they'll play basketball some in the off-season. Yeah, for sure. But it's practicing, playing the game, always just playing the game.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You can get better. Like I said, you can get better doing your sport, but there is a point where you need to take that off season, and every sport does it. So you're going to take that off season, improve upon what you built that season, and then you continue to grow that way. There's seasons of it. Just like you said, we do this on with our cycles where the focus shifts throughout the year depending on what time of year we're in, what we're focusing on coming up next. And yeah, it can't always be getting better at everything all at once. We try to move the needle a little bit each year or each cycle with each movement or movements. And like I said at the beginning, it feels like this is what's happening. I'm switching one for the other. Realistically, they're all leveling up. And eventually I'm talking about, like we said, the 0.1% that I'm trying to get better at each one, off and on. So you're looking at really small improvements when you're at the highest level, or when you've or wherever that highest level is for you. Maybe the highest level for you is quarterfinals. That's as high as you want to get. You can still get better within that frame of where you are. So it's not just for the games guys. It's not just for the semifinal athletes. You can still try to improve those 0.1% in any area of those, if that whatever your goal is. So if my goal is just to go to quarterfinals, I can still improve tiny little bits and get better for next year and have enjoyment with that. That's really, that's the whole point, is to see those improvements and to kind of get you more hooked to like, oh man, what can I get better at next year? Like what can I keep doing? And that's how you maintain and grow to a really good level of fitness.
Definitely. And yeah, so you can do that. This is the infinite game. Keep playing forever. That's why CrossFit's fun, because you can get better.
Yep.
You will get it forever, but you have at least probably a 10-year time horizon to where you can improve your total fitness and most things within it.
Yeah.
It's in your mark. You're like, wow, I just keep dropping off on the open leaderboard, or local comps not as good. Then you can either start to really, you can just specialize and get something like get faster running, better machine, or better at some specific lift to make it fun, or 2, age up in a master's category, and then you're in your own new category each time, which that keeps tons of fun. I guess 3, you can just play something else for a little bit. Go do a triathlon.
Yeah.
Run a marathon with me. Whatever it is to give you a different game to play while you still do cross as the base.
Yeah.
That can help a lot as well. So, and maybe like one thing you can choose it to leave people with could be what's something games athletes do train about, knowing from you and coaching, that something about them in their training most people don't think about, or lifestyle, or just something to leave the majority of people out there with that aren't competing yet but are on the edge of doing a local comp.
Something that like let's do something that that the games athletes are doing, that that any athlete could and probably should be doing. And I think let's see. I'm just looking here to kind of come up with something. I just think it's following. This is going to be super cliche, but it's sticking to the program that you are following. Even if you think I use this as my example all the time. There may be something out there that works. There's the data backs it, the science backs it. It's a 10 out of 10 program, and you absolutely hate it. It's not going to give you those results then. If there is a program that is really enjoyable, that you love to follow, and it's probably about 75% perfect, you're going to get way better on that program if you do it to a T every single day than if you follow a program that is, this is scientifically perfectly accurate and you absolutely hate it. So, and that could literally just be like, I have to move my schedule around to train with one of my friends. If I don't train with him, then it's like not really that much fun. So you may be doing the same program, but if I have to move my schedule around, I train in an hour, that's not great for me. But I'm showing up every single day because I have somebody holding me accountable, then I'm going to have way more results than if I'm trying to rely on myself to push myself only. And that's the only time I train is by myself. You're probably not going to move the needle as much as if you had a training partner. So find the program that you will follow and find someone to follow it with. Those are probably the 2 main things. Follow that program, have somebody who holds you accountable, and that will move the needle more than really, I think, a lot of things.
Yeah, train with people, man.
Yeah,
it makes it more fun, and you'll push so much more. So
yeah,
That's a good parting word. Angie the man, I'm coming back to our office here in a minute. I'm in Angie's office for everybody. I'm on his, if he's looking that way.
He's right there.
Mayhem crew and others, thank you for hopping in. I will answer this just because I saw it. Thank you for the comments. You can still join 440. Hop in with us right now, mayhemnation.com, Mayhem Athlete. We've got these couple more town halls every week, one next Thursday and the next, and then training all the time. She said, if someone's a Masters Semis athlete, follow the Semis Games track. Master Semis athletes follow the Mayhem Masters Semis and Games track. Mayhem Masters has their own. It's similar to Compete Semis Games. It's just tailored for Masters.
Yep.
That way you could do workouts with the younger guns in your gym, but it'd be specific for you.
Yeah.
Some point pull back and such. What would you recommend for someone who works full-time, can fit both sessions? We list in order of priority every day. So like the most prioritized session is going to be number 1. It is similar to Compete, the base level. But then 2, you're going to have to do a little bit of like, I absolutely suck at rope climbs. That's a session 2 workout. We'll just pull that to your Metcon session 1. That's what you can do with that. As a whole, you can just follow in order, and then you're probably going to flip sometimes. I've got to run this week, but I don't have time. We'll just make that your session 1 piece. So you can flip the sessions in essence, but follow in order. Otherwise, that'll take care of you.
That's a perfect answer. I think choose the try to follow it to a T. Follow it for sure. Focus on that first session. Follow it to a T. If you need to flip the morning and afternoon Metcon to fit your strengths and weaknesses, then do that. I think that would be the way for sure.
This is the way. All right, crew. Have a great week. We'll see you guys soon. Stay with Mayhem Athlete. Thanks again. See ya.